What would happen if we did away with modern obstetrics? Are OBs really experts? Is it okay to be crazy sometimes? What's the problem with big medicine? And is it safe to have twins vaginally? These are a few of the topics we're going to cover today in the conclusion of my conversation with Dr. Stuart Fischbein. So let's get into it. Are you a Christian woman yearning for a beautiful, joyful pregnancy and birth with a focus on God, not medical tests? Are you worried the birth you want isn't possible and you're tired of being treated like an accident waiting to happen? Hey Mama, I'm Lori, host of Your Birth God's Way. I'm a certified nurse-midwife now, but I wasn't always. After working for nearly 20 years in the broken maternity system, I too was in your shoes wondering how I could have the birth I wanted and that I felt God meant for me to have. I found a secret that has actually been known since the beginning of time. God's way is the best way. Spoiler alert, God made us and our babies, and He knows us best. He designed us perfectly for pregnancy, birth, and nourishing our babies after birth, if we work with His design and not against it. In this podcast, you'll learn how to be healthy and have joy during this time of life that will be over before you know it. So if you're ready to reclaim your birth and your babies for His glory, go turn on a few episodes of Bluey for that little one on your hip so you can put the focus back on you for a few minutes with me. Review time. Today's review is short and sweet. It's from Valerie Jean 38, and the headline says, "So helpful. As a mom going through her fourth pregnancy, this podcast is such a refreshing change from most of the information out there. Empowering, inspiring, and informative." Thank you so much, Valerie Jean, for leaving that sweet message for me. It encourages me so much, and that's my whole goal. I love to help moms, whether it's your first baby, your fourth baby, your 10th baby. It doesn't matter. There's always something to learn, especially in this world that is full of bad information. And I'm so glad that you found your way to me and that you have learned a lot. If you are one of the few who has not left me a 5-star written review yet, please head over to Apple Podcasts and do that for me. And if you don't have an iPhone, no problem. I promise you know someone who does. So next time you're hanging out, maybe grab it from them and say, "Hey, I need to leave a review real quick." They'll understand and I'll appreciate it, and it will encourage me and it will help me find other moms just like you. Did you realize that if somebody didn't directly tell you about this podcast, the way you found me was by searching, or maybe I just popped up in your suggested podcasts, but had no one ever left me a review, I wouldn't have showed up there. And so your review really, really does matter, and it helps me find my way to other moms like you who need this information. It really does matter. It's not a waste of your time. It helps so many other moms that are like you who are out there just trying to find good information. And as I always say, it encourages me. So take the time, go do it now if you haven't already. So today is part 3 of my conversation with Dr. Stuart Fischbein. If you haven't listened to the first 2 parts, please go back and do that first before you listen to this one. It'll make a lot more sense, and you'll get the bio of Dr. Stu, which tells you all about him, where he came from, what he's done in his career, and it will help prepare you to just kind of know how to listen to him, because he is a plethora of information. He has been on all sides of the maternity world, kind of like me, only he's done it a lot longer, and he's seen the truth and come to the light over the last, 20 or so years. He will help you see that the things that you're thinking deep down in your gut aren't wrong. And when you feel like you're crazy, maybe it's okay to be crazy. Today we're going to talk about things like, how can OBs call themselves experts when there's such a large percentage of the pregnant population they just won't care for? We're going to look at who's benefiting from some of these policies that don't benefit us as moms. What would happen if we completely just did away with modern obstetrics as they are now? Would we even miss them? We're going to talk about things as seemingly out there as the process of the shot for the C word. You know what I mean? We're going to look at big medicine, the problems that brings. We're going to talk about twins a little bit towards the end, and what does safety even mean? This is a quick rundown of all the things we're going to cover. You're going to learn so much. Get your sheet of paper out that you've been taking notes on so you can write a few more things down. And I hope you enjoy this conclusion of my conversation with Dr. Stu. Let's go. I would just say, again, it's kind of the same thing. I just for moms to know, how can they know if it's safe to be home? And it's kind of the same thing. Find a physician or a midwife who will attend home births or attend twin births, and
Even if a
have them
midwife
assess
can't,
your situation.
even if a midwife can't attend your birth because of the laws in their state, they still have
That's their
much more
opinion.
knowledge about twin birthing and less fear than
Right.
your average obstetrician. Your average obstetrician has been taught algorithmically about twins. And it just like not all pregnant women are the same,
Mhm.
not all diabetics are the same,
Right.
not all women with twins are the same.
Right.
Not all women with mono-di twins are the same. Not all women with di-di twins are the same. There are many different factors that come into play.
Right.
But I will tell you, in the medicalized birth model, what I learned and what I was taught was that all twins are the same. All right. Mono-di twins need more surveillance. Mono-di twins should be delivered earlier. But what if these mono-di twins are doing great? Oh, it doesn't matter. They're mono-di twins. They're always at risk. They need to be. Are they really? Are they really? And what's the risk of delivering them early? What's the risk of putting them in a NICU for a month?
And that's
Right?
kind of what I was getting at, is like the blanket, oh, you have twins, it's not safe. You have to have someone that will look into the depth of your situation and in the different aspects of it. And that's really how you're going to know whether it's quote safe or not, and whether, and again, what does safe even mean?
That's
Where
exactly.
is
I was
safe?
just going
Yeah.
to say that. That was my comeback to you, was
Yeah.
that safe is in the eyes of the beholder.
Right.
To some women, it's a risk of 1 in 100 of something happening is really high.
Mm-hmm.
To other women, that's a 99% chance it's not going to happen. And I don't like the idea of my babies being forced out. So I'm not going to pick that risk.
But we're in a culture where somebody else gets to decide what's safe for you, rather than you getting to decide for yourself.
Watch the language. Check the language. Check the adjectives they use when they describe something to you. It's really risky. It's, once you start to look at the language, you look at any paper on breech birth or any paper basically on anything, the only outcome they're looking for is neonatal death and neonatal mortality.
Mm-hmm.
And the secondary outcome is usually cesarean section.
Right.
But they're never looking at the things we talked about earlier. How did that baby do a year later? How's that baby's microbiome? How's the mother? How is bonding? How is breastfeeding? How's the mother's postpartum depression? How is the mother feeling about her birth? How is the mother doing with as far as scar tissue and adhesions, and what happens in her future pregnancies? None of this stuff
Doesn't matter.
is in any paper that recommends something based on neonatal death and neonatal morbidity. Obviously important subjects, but it's not the only endpoint. And yet it's considered the only endpoint in almost all of academia, because they have lost their ability to see the big picture. They live in their little box, and they think that if I get a live baby in the bassinet, I've done my job. And the trail of wreckage that I left behind me is for somebody else to clean up. It's not my problem. Right.
Right. Okay. So tell people, I know most people are familiar with you, but where they can find you. So like if I have some midwives.
Well, I'm in my little basement in Kanab, Utah right now. You guys come by and visit. I'd love to have you.
Visit. He wants visitors. But name your podcast if they want to reach you. If they're midwives or maybe even doctors who want to learn the breech skills, how can they find out more about that?
Okay. So Birthing Instincts podcast is my podcast. It's been going now we're in our 12th year, I think. We started in 2013. So with Bliss Young and I, and we have started a Patreon group, which we'd love people to join us. You find that link at the birthinginstinctspodcast.com website.
Have you been looking for a course online to help you prepare for your natural birth, but you're sick of having to weed through the content to take out all that new agey stuff or the flat out ungodly advice? Well, I've got some great news for you. There is now a course that will teach you everything you need to know to be fully prepared for birth, postpartum, and breastfeeding from a Christian perspective on demand, taught by a midwife with over 20 years of experience in the maternity world. And that midwife is me. After many years of being indoctrinated into that godless, medicalized maternity world, I woke up to the truth and realized that most of the maternity system in our country is based on lies. I became a doula and then a midwife, and now I help moms like you have a God-led, God-filled birth from an informed position so that you do not have to be led by fear, but rather by faith in God and knowledge of the truth. Inside this course, you will be engulfed in Scripture while learning about God's ways of nutrition, prenatal care, birth, postpartum care, breastfeeding, what dad needs to know, and so much more. In addition to the course content itself, which is available in both video and audio formats, you'll get workbooks for each module so you can take notes on what you want to remember, Christian relaxation audio tracks to use during pregnancy and labor, printable affirmation cards, and the best part, you'll get access to a live question and answer session with me each month to ask your questions. To sign up or learn more, head over to go.yourbirthgodsway.com/course. That's go.yourbirthgodsway.com/course. Now, this is a serious course, and it's only for serious mamas who truly want to have their birth God's way. So if that's you, head over to go.yourbirthgodsway.com/course today, and I'll see you in the course.
And it's a community. We have over 700 people now in our community, and we'd like it to grow. There are different tiers. Some of it's free, and some people I can pay as much as I think $40 a month, and for extra content. And we have peer review meetings with them. We have Q&As. We have, we put out different content videos and stuff like that that people can look at to find information. So I really want people to be interested in looking into the Patreon through the Birthing Instincts podcast website. You can also find it through my website, which is just birthinginstincts.com. Mm-hmm. And then I'm on Instagram at Birthing Instincts. So that's pretty easy because everything's Birthing Instincts. I'm not on Twitter or TikTok or any of that stuff as yet. I don't know that I will. I've got people that tell me I should, but I'm spread too thin as it is. And then I teach. And on my website, birthinginstincts.com, you can go to the events page at the top and you can click on it and it tells you where I'm going to be next. I teach a 2-day seminar in around the world. And it's 2 days and it's on breeches and twins and sort of why we are the way we are. And then there's at least, probably 6 to 8 hours of hands-on with simulators so you can learn the maneuvers. And this is not just for birth workers. I have a lot of doulas that take the class, and that's because they're dedicated to the clients that they want to take care of, and they know that their clients are going to get gaslit. And so they want to know these skills, not because they're going to be catching babies, but because they want to be able to give informed consent to their women that hire them. And they want to be able to call when they see. And so they take the course. And occasionally have doctors, not very many, but I love that as well. And then I'm on a lot of podcasts. And again, we list most of them on the website, birthinginstincts.com website. You can find out where I've been or who I've talked to and see some things. I had a really fun year last year. I got to be on the Spillover podcast with Alex Clark, who's now, she does things now called the Culture Apothecary. She's changed the name.
That's how I found her. I love her podcast. And I found her when you were on there. Yeah. She
does great work. And then I was on Ellen Fisher's podcast almost 2 years ago in early January. And that was sadly because that was in Lahaina. That was before the fire in Lahaina. And I was there and it was beautiful and I remember it. And then I also got the honor of Michelle Wolf, a comedian, asked me to be a guest on the Daily Show.
That was awesome.
And that came out of left field.
Yeah.
And because Daily Show is usually not my thing and also doesn't really do topics like this. And Michelle, because she had her own home birth in Portugal, I believe, was very emotional about the topic. She did an unbelievably great monologue for about 10 minutes before I came on. You can find that on YouTube. And then our talk was on YouTube, and that's got over 3 million views, so it's out there. And I guess this is my mission in life at this point, because I'm not going to be attending births on a regular basis anymore. I just don't have the bandwidth for that. But I am trying to change the way things happen for the women of the world. And I have a new project that I'm going to start working on next year, and that is I'm going to try to come up with a curriculum. And if any of your listeners, by the way, are school teachers, specifically high school teachers or junior high school teachers, I'm thinking of trying to come up with a curriculum to teach in high school health, which I think is in 10th grade. Might be 9th grade, but it's 10th grade, where we get to young ladies before they come out in the world and then get indoctrinated by their gynecologists or whatever else. We talk to them about their bodies, about birth, not just this is a uterus, this is a penis, this is how that works. No, I want to talk to things like some of the things I talked about now, about nature's design, about mammalian birth, about how it's instinctual. So we can catch them and plant those seeds inside them before they go out, and then they will be aware of when they're getting in the future. So that would be a project that I'm really proud of, just even in the creative phase, coming out with it. But I talked to a friend of mine who was a teacher who had a gym program that actually got picked up, started in one class, got picked up by Michelle Obama and became nationwide. And it's something they do like for 10 minutes in the morning before they start school. And a lot of schools still have this program, and it was designed by a friend of mine. And she said, I said, how did you get that to Michelle Obama? And she said, I didn't. I said, I started it with one class, and then the principal liked it. And I said, well, you mean I can have a teacher do that? And she says, yeah. I thought teachers are very strict in what they can teach and what they can't teach, because they have to follow the National Teachers Association guidelines or whatever. Right. She said, no, some teachers have flexibility in their classes, what they can teach. And so I'm looking for a teacher who teaches health in 10th grade who wants to collaborate. So I'm putting that out there.
That sounds great. You'll find it. Somebody's going to hear it. You'll find it.
So you can reach out to me, and you can direct message me on Instagram. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me, at Birthing Instincts. So that was a lot.
That was a lot, but hey, it is great information. And you say what you're trying to do now, you're doing it, and you've touched me, because I didn't know much about it until I went to the Twins Breech conference, and now I'm telling my listeners, and then they're telling their friends, and it's getting out there. And I know I'm just one little podcast. There's lots of us out here, so we appreciate all that you do. Again, like I said earlier, because you have the time to disseminate the information to help us. So thank you so much. And thank you for your time. You've given me a ton of time, and my listeners eat it up. And so I just appreciate it so much.
Thank you for having me.
Real quick, if today's episode blessed you in any way, would you head over to Apple Podcasts and leave me a quick 5-star written review? It'll take you less than a minute, but it's the best thank you can give me. And it will help my show to reach more mamas just like you, so we can all find God's best for our families. I'll see you right back here in a few days.